Welcome to the football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Alison McConnell, delighted to be joined by Alan Rough and David Elliot. Nice to have you on the show, David.
Thanks for having me.
So first of all, have you ever been cold water swimming?
I haven't, no. I've been warm water swimming. Is that the same?
I know you were good pals with Chick Charnley, maybe some cold water swimming, but having a different name.
Yeah, but I'm possibly good friends with Chick still. I'm still keeping in touch with him now and again. He's a barrel of laughs, but one hell of a player as well.
Indeed. Ruffy, what have you made of it all this week? Hike up Connachthill and then...
Yeah, I think our managers have different views on what they're doing. I think when you're not doing particularly well, the manager's got to come up with something to sort of get the players away from everything that's happening. My day it was golf. You know, if your manager played golf, you went and played golf. You know, and vice versa. But I mean, I've been up that Connachthill. It's not an easy shift. It's quite high up, and I think the players themselves would have got a wee relaxation. But I mean, to get away from the pressures and everything, you know, I don't think for a minute they would all be in swimming. There's no, maybe a paddle, out or something like that. But I mean, the Aberdeen boys used to, Big Alec McLeish and Mark McGee used to tell us that if Sir Alec Ferguson up at Aberdeen, if any of them went in and said they're the calf muscle or thing, he shoved them into the North Sea, and they were in for about 4 or 5 hours. So you know, it's
unable to walk.
Exactly, aye. So no, I just think it's different. And Gary Caldwell took the Thistle boys away to the army training as well. It's just a different outlook in what you want to do with your players.
Does it work in terms of like trying to break a cycle of negativity? Does it make any difference, do you think?
Yeah, I think it can. I think it can at times. Like Ruffy says, I think in their day it was a game of golf, and it did. And some of the guys weren't the golfers, and they caused more chaos in a golf course than anything else. But it can. It's just about getting the timing right, isn't it? And you need to get the players to buy into these things.
That's the thing. I mean, if you're not winning on the park, and it's almost like anything that you do is going to be framed in a negative light. But do you think, has Russell Martin lost all credibility just now, do you think, or do you still think he can go and recover ground here?
Certainly, that atmosphere's been tough even before the game. I watched the game at the weekend actually, and then even before the game, it was tough for him. And as the game wore on, it just seemed to get worse and worse. Do you know, you really feel for a manager in that position, because if the fans were, the fans were on him, and they didn't miss him, and they didn't miss the players either. Is it too late? I really don't know. But I suppose he's trying, and I suppose his wee trip to Loch Lomond, he's trying to do something different. Whether it works or not, time will tell.
I think the Union Bears have put out a statement today saying that there'll be a protest at the front door at 4:30 before Saturday evening's game against Hibs, before that Premier Sports Cup tie against Hibs. I mean, it all builds into an atmosphere that's just pretty toxic around the club. As a player, Ruff, as a former player, how tough is it to be in that environment and then try and keep your game head on? You think like the position of that front door at Ibrox, the dressing rooms are at the front of the stadium, you'll hear everything.
Yeah, you will hear anything that you've got to deal with, and I do think it's a bit of a bonus it's outside the park rather than inside, because during the game, you know, they're going to be very vocal. So yeah, you'll have to come off the bus, you'll have to probably walk through them. You just got to get your head down. I think most of them now, modern days, have got their headphones on and everything. I think you'll be trying to just cut it out. But it is something they'll have to get their head round. And I've always said that once 5:30 comes or whatever the kick-off is, you just concentrate on the game. You're not concentrating on anything else. But it's a bad sign when now the supporters are really getting at the board. You know, and that is a turning point if things don't go particularly well, because it's now directed at the board, and the majority of board people don't like that kind of criticism about themselves.
Do you think that Partick Stewart deserves to come in for a bit of criticism? When you look at the appointment of Russell Martin, it just looks like it's been the wrong fit for the club from the get-go.
It does look as if it's been the wrong fit now, but hindsight's great, isn't it? And I suppose there was lots of research done at the time, and at the time they obviously felt Russell Martin was a good fit. I mean, you did have press, journalists, ex-players, fans saying that this was going to be a great fit for them, but it's turned out really not to be. So I suppose the next in the firing line is going to be the chairman.
Do you fancy that he survives at all? Do you think it's inevitable? You know, we spoke about it on Monday's show, the fact that the club would probably already be looking at replacements and having a contingency plan in place. Do you think it's gone? Is the writing already on the wall, Ruffy, or would you stick by him?
I think the writing's nearly on the wall, you know. But as he knows, winning games takes the pressure away. The only way this is going to go away if they start winning games and going on some kind of wee run, then it'll quail a wee bit. But as it is just now, and it's been every game now, it's been pressure, and it's going to be that at the weekend. You know, the Hibs game's going to be massive. You know, and again, if you look on the doom side, if they lose that game, that's a cup game. That's one the players, the supporters will all want a good run in, you know, so that again could be another bad tick against them. We keep hearing that the board are backing them, but until the board actually come out and say we're backing them, and it's okay him saying they're backing them, but I think they need to come out and tell the supporters why they're backing them. But winning games is the only thing that saves them.
Yeah, I think there was a private conversation that took place on Sunday where he was assured that he still had a bit of time, but at some point, inevitably, you run out of road when there's no evidence that results can improve. But from your perspective as a coach still in the game, David, do you think David Gray will just be looking at this week and rubbing his hands?
Absolutely. I think so, and I think Rangers are, unfortunately, depends what viewpoint you're looking from, got themselves into a bother and then ended up with 3 tough games ahead. They had Celtic, they had Hearts, and then they had Hibs. There's no easy games in there. So, like Ruffy said, they need to, if it's not getting points on the board, if they feel that the league is gone now, then it's they want to go in a good cup run. They're in, is it the quarters they're playing against Hibs? And, they need to push towards that Hampden Place and give their supporters something to shout about early on, because it is the first cup final of the season. So it's one that you go and win that, and that's one down, it's one at the road. The pressure's off you a wee bit, but the exact opposite of that, if they're not, even if they're getting through this, they're not winning. They need to win this cup. The pressure is right on. Obviously, the writing's nearly on the wall. It really just depends on how the next few weeks go.
How tough is it to play in that environment as a player when you sense that you're in front of a mutinous support? You can sense the displeasure, the anger, the toxic atmosphere in a ground, and you're trying to not be inhibited by it.
Like Ruffy says, they can walk off the bus with their earbuds, their earphones in, but they can't go in the park with them on, unfortunately. It's no easy. Do you know, you ask the fans, you'd ask the fans to get behind you, but I think that's gone now. And I think the fans are just to me on Saturday when they were playing, it was as if they were waiting for that to happen. And then when it happened, that's when they went for it. You'd want the fans to get behind you if you were struggling, because you're low in confidence, so you want the fans to help you out a bit, but I think it's maybe gone beyond that now.
I would say 90% of that Rangers team have never played for a team that's booed them.
There'll be a lot of players there in that dressing room who will have experienced moments at Rangers. Think of James Tavernier, Jack Butland, players that will have been at the club.
I would say the majority, Alison, the majority of them, the ones that have come in will have been at clubs where they've done all right or no playing or whatever, but they'll never have experienced 40,000 people booing them actually on the park. And then that's when you've got to have players on the park that can deal with it, that's been through there before. I don't think Rangers have got a Richard Gough or a John Brown or somebody like that, who can say, the young boy for Spurs, what is he, 17?
I'll make you Moore.
You've got young guys like that coming and they express themselves, and all of a sudden there's 50,000 people booing, and he's only 17, and he's got to deal with that. So it's the individuals in the dressing room have got to see you through a bad time, and if you've not got 4 or 5 or 6 who've been there and done it, to sort of say to them, look, this is how we cope with this. I don't think Rangers have got anybody like that. Tavernier's obviously been there, but I don't think they have a leader who is a focal point of turning it round. And
I suppose in an environment like that, you need more than one leader.
Yeah.
You need to have a team, you need to have a senior team of leadership there that can lead by example in the park and just navigate you through it. Do you think there's a vulnerability about the mentality with it?
Yeah, I think unfortunately, obviously we knew Rangers had to get away 10 players and 10 players coming in. You know, you 10 players coming in, as I said earlier, they haven't experienced what's happening. But you've got 10 players who don't really know each other. You know, they've not been brought up, you know, with Rangers in mind. They've not been brought up in that environment because they've got to deal with everything else that goes with pulling on that jersey. And I mean, I used to talk to Andy Gorham and Andy, but at half time they'd all be punching lumps at each other, you know, because they all knew the targets that they had to get and the standards they had to meet. I just think because there's so many come in on loan or whatever, they're all looking after themselves. They're all trying to impress themselves rather than the team, and that's a biggest fault. I think they're not playing as a team, they're playing as individuals. You know, two wide guys and he's trying to impress, and the midfield, the young boys. And I just think that I'm sticking up for them, saying that they're away for something good happening. I'm looking at that Hearts game at the weekend. Yeah, they quite rightly got beat, but we went through the situations, the Shankland hitting his arm, the goal getting disallowed, the penalty that I didn't think was a penalty. It's not happening, but you have to make it happen. You have to have somebody in the team who's going to curl one for 30 yards and the whole stadium's going to lift. They need a lift for somebody.
When you, as a coach, see players that, you know, maybe have lost their way in a game, that maybe mentally they've made a mistake, and it's having an impact in performance, and you're maybe still replaying it, what's your advice to say, you know, you've got to refocus here and just be able to ride the storm? How difficult is that to do?
I'm coaching at Partick, Thistle women, where they don't get 40, 50, 60,000. You know, and the pressure's on them. They've got fans baying for blood at times. Getting instruction on the pitch is a lot easier for me than it will be for Russell Martin, because I don't have that crowd to shout over the top of it. And then you rely, like Ruffy says, he's relying more on individuals within the team to help teammates out. Mistakes are done. There's nothing you can do about them. It's how you move on for that mistake. I coached at academy football for years and years and years, and it's just getting the kids to realise, well, that mistake's now been made. It's how you move on. But when you're at a professional level in front of 50, 60,000 at times, it's not as easy as that.
Barry Ferguson had mentioned this week that there was 3 obvious signings he would have made had he got the job on a full-time basis. I think Shankland, Mulligan and Cherny were the 3 that he would have sought. Do you think they've spent well enough, or do you think you look at recruitment and you think there's been has it been money well spent so far?
No, I think individually, if you started looking at them as a team, there's none of them has saying, wow, what a signing that is. Wow, we've all been told about what they were like before they got there. I mean, you get somebody coming up and them going, oh, he's a right good player, he won this, he won that, but there's none of them actually on the part of actually shone, you know, and grabbed the game by a scruff of the neck or won it for these teams. So they're looking for that as well, that kind of individual. Even
if they were to come through the weekend game against Hibs and prevail against David Grayside, is it just walking a tightrope now? Do you think it inevitably the call comes?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the game against Hibs is just another game. They win, they get through to the semis. Rangers fans demand more than a semi-final of a cup. Rangers and Celtic fans demand more than a semi-final of a cup. So if they go and they lose or draw the next league game, or they get put out the semi-finals of the cup, it's back to square one again. It might buy them time for a few days, but it's not going to last the season.
I think that what we're seeing between now and Christmas is you've got international breaks coming really quickly because of the way that the qualifiers are structured. Do you see enough evidence that you could maybe get to, like, for example, the next international window, go unbeaten, and it maybe buys you a bit of time? Or do you just think it would be much wiser to make the change now? We all advocate, sometimes we make, you know, clubs maybe make the call too early that managers need time, or do you think it's inevitable that you cut your losses now and you say you can still salvage something from the campaign? There comes a time when the board have got to make a decision. You know, a lot of boards, we keep saying that managers don't get long enough. You know, that's the first thing you say, he's not getting long enough, and not particularly the Rangers manager, but there comes a time when a board's got to sit down. And I'm just going from my experience when things weren't going particularly well at Thistle with Gary Caldwell. We looked at the fixture list. We said, look, the guy's here, he's done
a reasonable job. Everything's going well behind the scenes, blah, blah, blah. You look at the fixture list and you put a target on what you want to achieve. And I think they'll have said to him, look, this is what's coming up. Obviously, a great chance to get to the League Cup final. There's European games, but you've got to win them. You've got to win them. And so he'll know exactly what's in that fixture list and what he's got to do. And I think the only thing that saves him is a run. A decent run of 3 or 4 games, winning games.
I suppose the problem is just now you don't see the evidence that can come.
No, you don't.
Anything on the park that you think it's clicking there, that there are signs that this is a team that's going to click into gear and performances will improve. It's difficult to see where the improvements are coming from.
Yeah, I remember last season they were going through a wee sticky spell, but during that sticky spell they were dominating games. You know, they were 70% possession. They just couldn't really. They had a lot of possession in the forward areas. They couldn't really finish it off. I think this year's different. I think when you get a team like Hearts going to Ibrox, and it looked to me like the work rate from the Hearts players was far higher than the work rate from the Rangers players. Fans aren't going to accept that.
I suppose though, when you think then Hibs, it gives other teams encouragement, like the sense of vulnerability about it, that you think they don't carry the same menace. Mentally, you think, oh, they're vulnerable at the moment, they can go and be got at.
I think even simple things like forcing Rangers to play the ball backwards or sidewards was enough for the fans on Saturday to really get at them. And I think that was Derek McInnes's plan, just to go and pressure them high, go and press high, force them to play back, which seems to be Rangers' plan this year, is they're comfortable keeping possession, and if they have to play the ball back, then they play the ball back. But I think on Saturday they played the ball back, the fans were ready to go get at them. You know, it wasn't just mistakes, it was even backward passes that were getting it.
Mm-hmm. Do you see enough in Hibs that they can go and cause Rangers problems on Saturday?
The only thing I would worry about Hibs is the goals they're losing. You know, they're losing some poor goals. I mean, and the other side of that is they're playing attractive football. You want to see your team going forward. If your team's going forward and scoring goals and winning 3-2, 4-2, you'll put up with that. But I think there's been too many games where they've been behind and having to claw themselves out of it. So I don't think Hibs are going there with not a great deal of confidence. They'll be looking at Rangers, but I think they've got to look at themselves. They certainly have got players in there who are playing well, but they've now got to prove that they, like Hearts, they can go to Ibrox and get a result. And if they do that, then obviously that's all they'll be looking at.
Obviously 2 in the league, it's 9 points between Rangers and Celtic, but crucially 9 points too between Rangers and Hearts. Is this the season that someone splits the top 2?
It's early days. I don't think that question's been asked too many times in the last few seasons. Certainly the way it's heading, if it doesn't change, then certainly Hearts and even Hibs could be that team, or be those teams that could do it. But like we say, there's a long way to go. There's maybe a lot of signings, maybe a lot of changes to be made. You need to look at depth of squad when injuries start kicking in. But I suppose that question is asked this season: could there be team or teams that split the top 2?
Team or teams? That's an interesting one.
I mean, Hibs will like to think that they're going to push there as well, you know, and other teams will gain confidence for that. If other teams go and see Hearts doing well at Ibrox, if they see Hibs doing well at Ibrox, and they see there's a plan there to go, and whether the plan is to go and press high and force Rangers back, you know, teams will be confident. St Mirren, for example, we went last year and took points off them as well. They are what they are, but they're good at what they do. They're strong. They're quick up front. And they've certainly got the ability to go and score against Rangers.
Okay, so obviously I think you came through the ranks at Celtic as a kid and as a youngster, obviously changed days now. But when you look at your former club, the temperature just seems to have come down a wee bit across recent days. Does a last minute winner just buy you a bit of time, or do you still see this discord that we've watched over the last 2 or 3 weeks? Do you still fancy that it will rumble on for quite some time? Yeah,
I don't think that's going to go away. Celtic fans have been spoiled over the last number of years with winning leagues, and it's maybe got to the time where they need more than that. And I think for me and for loads of Celtic fans out there, it was going to be the European cause that got them through this season. If they could go and push, last year they pushed Bayern Munich. Last season they pushed Bayern Munich. This season they're getting put out to a team that they really should have. They should be nowhere near them in Europe. And I think that's what annoyed the fans, that there doesn't seem to be that backing that the manager's probably deserved for what he's brought the club. And I think they wanted that backing, and they wanted money to spend, or they wanted big name players out there that can go and produce in Europe, go and score goals against teams like Bayern Munich, and go and make Partick a fortress that teams come and just, it's no easy for them. But at the same time, go away from home and get some results back like they used to. You know, they used to do really, really well in Europe. Big teams like Juventus and Real Madrid have came and gone with nothing. So I think that's what Celtic fans have been looking for this year, and it's not happened. So at Rumland, I don't think it's going to go away, and it's certainly not going away soon.
The issue is there's nowhere that it can really go when you look at affecting boardroom change, or looking at affecting change within the club's hierarchy and how the club is run. It's actually very difficult to see how any change would manifest itself and how it would come about. But the Europa League campaign is on the horizon. I think there's still 4-match packages available. Do you anticipate that Celtic fans will buy into supporting the team, that they'll still be looking to support the team but continue to make their grievances felt, or do you think it quietens down a bit if you can put a winning team in the park?
Yeah, I think it's not the same as Rangers, but it's the same as, win games, quietens the fans. They want to see their team winning, and these games coming up, are just the same. You want to win them, but there will be protests, there's no doubt about it. I think the fans are particularly unhappy with the board just now. They'll have to ride this out. But like them, the pressure's not on Brendan Rodgers. He needs to go out and just pick the right team and win games. The board can do nothing about that. They're just sitting hoping that he can get it right. So the more he gets right, the more pressure's off of them.
Mm-hmm. Obviously for Hill, for Celtic on Sunday afternoon in cup duty, just see Thistle wanting to make life as awkward as possible for as long as possible in that game for Celtic.
Listen, I've seen Thistle a few times this season. They knock the ball about well. They play really good football. But what Mark's brought to the team, especially this season, is a right good work rate, a right good fighting spirit. They went behind at the weekend and managed to pull it back to 2-1 ahead, and they've not done that. They've not done that in a right good while. So I think that shows the character. They'll make it difficult for Celtic. They really will, especially for Hill. And Celtic have got a tough one there.
Mm-hmm. It's also too, you feel like the situation at Celtic is almost the same as at Rangers, where you think everything's fine so long as you're winning games, but the minute there's any adversity, it just brings everything back to the fore again.
Yeah, it does, and it'll be a tough game. Celtic will have to maybe wait a while before they get the goal, but we all know the longer the game goes, they've got better players on the bench to come on, and that usually turns the game for them. So no, I think it'll be good. It'll be a full stadium, great atmosphere. I think, as Mark has said, Thistle are doing well. Mark's got them well organised. They'll go into the game with a wee bit of confidence, but they're playing against better teams than what they've been playing.
Kelechi Iheanacho came off the bench and obviously scored the penalty at Rugby Park on Sunday afternoon. He had the good grace not to come in and say, yeah, it's the only club I wanted to play for. He was quite coy when he was asked how the move in January had broken down. Not really keen to go into any details about that one. But did you see enough from him to think he can add something different to Celtic's forward line? I think the perception was that he needed a bit of time to get up to match fitness.
I think strikers need to get in and score goals. They need confidence strikers, and there was no shortage of confidence from him, to be honest, to go and come on and step up and take that 93rd or 94th minute penalty and put it away the way he did. I mean, the goalkeeper had absolutely no chance. If he can show that confidence moving forward, certainly a good player over the years. I think as long as he works hard and gets himself into good positions, he'll score goals. I mean, a Celtic striker should be scoring goals. I think the difference just now between Celtic and Rangers when they're playing is that Celtic have these individual players that can go and just, even if they're not playing well, is go and put the ball in the back of the net. And the Celtic support are right behind their players. It seems to be the board they're more getting at. Mm-hmm. Whereas you look at Ibrox on Saturday, it was the players were getting it left, right and centre.
And the manager, obviously.
And the manager too.
Of course, as well. But Sebastian Tenetke showed up well as well on Sunday. One of the, obviously, he got over the line in the very last moments of the window, but he looks as though you offer something a wee bit different that Celtic haven't had.
Yeah, he likes a wee bit like Jota. You know, Jota's prepared to take people on. You know, he's exciting to watch. Good delivery into the box. And that might be a bad thing for Thistle. They've got 3 or 4 new players who want to impress. They want to impress the manager, the supporters. So that could maybe go against Thistle a wee bit because I think they've got something to prove.
You like your wingers to beat their man and get the ball into the box?
Absolutely, I like wingers to take players on in the outside, get the byline, get the crosses into the box. A lot of wingers these days are inverted for whatever reason. And it seems to be that they want to cut inside and play with 1-2s with their strikers. Which
He was quite direct, wasn't he?
At the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with doing that, but he was very, very direct. Looked comfortable going either side as well. And a lot of things with winger is they don't get by people. It's that final ball that lets them down at times, but he seemed to have a wee bit of composure there as well.
There was a goal on Sunday for Daizen Maeda. We all know that he had, he's maybe had to settle his brain to the fact he's in Glasgow at least until January, roughly, in a World Cup place in the horizon too this summer. But do you think that goal settles him down a wee bit, and also the fact that he knows, regardless of what's going to happen in the window, that he just needs to focus on the here and now for Celtic?
Well, he's a serious professional. I think he knows, maybe not this window, but certainly I would like to think that the club have given him reassurances that unfortunately never happened for you. So just dig in. It's only so many months away, and there must be a promise in there to honour a promise. If they've told him if X amount of pounds comes in for you, then we will honour the agreement we've had. But when he scored the goal in the weekend there, I was watching to see how his celebration was. To see if it was part of a team and he sort of initially you could see him with the badge and everything that carry on, but he seems to be quite subdued. That he's not that kind of striker who jumps about and goes crazy. So it's all about the individual. I don't know the guy personally, but I think he's just got to dig in. He's a good professional, and I'm sure he will.
I suppose from a coach's perspective, one of the positives about the window shutting is that you maybe don't get the same level of transfer chat and speculation that you would when it used to, when you go back to when it was open, that this is it now, regardless of what happens.
You know what you've got, you know what you've not got. You know that the players are going to be here. Daizen Maeda is a confidence player. I think he'll come on for that. I think he needed that. And he's a worker, isn't he? I mean, he's constant. He just seems to be up and down just all the time. I think he'll move on for that. But like you say, with the window shut, they know what they've got, know what they've not got, and they need to deal with that until January.
Okay, up at Pittodrie, and Director of Football Stephen Gunn is away from Aberdeen after 25 years. Did you come across?
No, I never did. That I didn't even know they had one. But that shows you how he is. He's good. He's been behind the scenes, obviously very well liked by the players and everybody at the club. It is a long, long time to be at a club, so I don't know the reasons for it. But certainly, maybe he just wants to move on and try something else.
Jimmy Tillian under pressure for you?
Again, he's game by game. I think the stats now are getting thrown up. The Scottish Cup is obviously a saviour, but people are now shoveling that to the side a bit and going, look at the many games you've won in the last whatever. And that'll only continue until they get on a wee run. We saw last year they can go on a run, but they need to get it pretty quick.
I think he'll be relieved at the noise that's around Celtic and Rangers at the minute. It's maybe just taking a wee bit of the focal point off him, and the fact that they've yet to score a league goal. Yeah,
no, that's not good enough, is it? And maybe bought a wee bit of time. He'd won the last domestic trophy that was going when they won the Scottish Cup last season. So I suppose that's kind of filtered on to the start of this season, and it's maybe kept him going a wee bit too.
A bit of credit in the bank in the back of that.
Absolutely.
The Hibs have been linked with Stephen Fletcher,
yeah,
I think.
Yes,
I actually. Someone had mentioned.
Yeah, I played golf with Stephen. I think it was 3 weeks ago, and obviously just come back for Wrexham, and I was asking him, what his plans were, and he was obviously not going to tell me, but he said that Hibs had been sniffing about him, and they hadn't really decided which way he wanted to go, but certainly it looks as if it's moved on a wee bit.
I think the sort of club hierarchy last night were distancing themselves a wee bit
Were they?
from it.
Well, it's not a bad move for me. I mean, he's just come off a plane with Wrexham. Okay, he wasn't a regular, but certainly he looked fit enough that day. And certainly if he doesn't play football, he could always turn to golf, because he's too good at golf. So he needs to get back into playing football.
To give you a run for
Oh,
your money.
he was unbelievable. Him and McAvaney, they're kidding themselves on with their handicaps.
On that note, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you as always to Ruffy. Thank you to David for coming in and joining us. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and download our app. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this content, you can get so much more of it on PLZ Premium.